Hello everyone, welcome to today's reading. We have a very exciting reading for you today. So today we're going to find out what makes you so irresistible to your lovers, what makes you so sexy, and what makes your lovers want to jump your bones. We have 4 piles to choose from today, from left to right. Pile 1, 2, 3, and 4. I have attached GIFs, a looping image, to each pile. If you would like to choose visually, I think a good way to choose visually would be to let your eyes lose focus for a moment and let your eyes drift to the pile that is resonating with you. Of course, for today's reading, if you would like to choose more than one pile, I think it's plausible as well. I find that when I do these pick a card readings, there is often a secondary message waiting for me in the second pile, especially since this is a general reading. So I'll keep the timestamps in the description box below, and I'll keep the GIFs looping on screen for about a minute or so that you have time to choose. So see you in a minute. Hi pile 1, let's find out what makes you so irresistible. First up we have the 9 of Wands, followed by the 10 of Swords. Very interesting combination here, both are rather heavy cards, but let's find out what else we have in store. Next we have the 5 of Probes, or the 5 of Wands, followed by the King of Probes, or King of Wands. Here we have the Eel card, the Book card. We have here Waning Crescent 3, Surrender. Here we have Child Eternal, determination to remain young in body, mind, and spirit. Ability to see things with fresh eyes, and also could be about the inability to grow up and be responsible. We have Liberator, freeing yourself and others from outmoded beliefs, releasing negative thought patterns, or imposing your own tyranny over those that you claim to liberate, ignoring legitimate constraints. We have your Shapeshifter, skill at navigating through different levels of consciousness, or projecting any image that serves your personal agenda. And next we have 3 of Hearts, the Clutch, followed by the Jack of Clubs, Lancelot. Okay, Paul 1, the first thing that comes to mind is that I think you are a sight for sore eyes. You are somebody who brings about a new whiff, a new gust of energy to those around you. That's it. I don't really see you as a very calming presence though, simply because of how energetic the cards we have in this pile. Let's start by looking at the Child Eternal card, the 5 of Probes and the King of Probes. The Child Eternal card talks about somebody who's very young at heart, so somebody who's always able to see the lighter side of things, no matter what the situation is. So what I think is very attractive about you, very irresistible about you to other people, to your lovers, is that you bring about a sense of fun to the relationship, to the sexual encounter, because you don't necessarily always take sex very seriously. You like having fun. And being with you is, or rather can feel very liberating, like the Liberator card here. So, sometimes people feel pressure from sexual encounters, the pressure to perform, pressure to be desirable, and so on. But with you, that fear just flies out of the window, because you are so light-hearted about everything. It's like being with you. It's like it's a playing almost. The Five of Probes can also be about competition. And I feel like some of you might almost regard sex as a sport. It's like you're having fun with it, and sometimes you might even engage in some sort of sexual competition with your partner, but not in a way that stresses the other person out, almost like in a very fun, playful way that invigorates them. So just to give you an example, it could be something like, hey, let's see who can have more orgasms in this session, and you guys proceed to try and please each other. So it stimulates that relationship between you and your person. That's what makes you so irresistible, so exciting to be around. The King of Probes or King of Wands as well, it tells me that you are somebody who's very confident, somebody who likes to take charge, perhaps. Because the kings are about taking charge. So I do see that you like to take charge, and you are very, very passionate in bed, almost a little restless. You might be experimental as well, want to try this and that. And like I mentioned just now, it feels like you are a very liberating presence. And this person, or your lovers in general, they feel like they could surrender to you, surrender to the pleasure without having to worry too much during the sexual encounters. So I do think that you, as a result, you might be very attractive to people who are prone to heaviness in their thought, who might be prone to worry, or who might take things seriously. I say that because of the 9 of Wands and the 10 of Swords. So this might be people who have experienced hurt in the past, but with you they feel like they could forget all about it. They feel like they could be young and new again. And okay, let's look at the Eel card. So the Eel card is interesting because normally we think of eels as very slippery creatures, as creatures that are hard to understand, creatures that are an enigma, or perhaps even a little cunning. Some people view eels in a negative light because of how difficult to understand they are, but I don't see that you are frustrating to other people. I see that you are not necessarily hard to understand, but just you can be very unpredictable. Perhaps you like to try new things in bed. Perhaps you like to surprise the other person. And this other person or these other people could be very tired of planning, very tired of scheming. I see that with the 9 of Wands and the 10 of Swords. But with you're not, I don't think you're somebody who schemes or plans too much, despite the eel imagery we have here. I think that you are somebody who is rather spontaneous, as I see with the 5 of Probes. And even the Child Eternal card, I think you're somebody who just as you pleases, who is very unrestrained by conventions. The shapeshifter card kind of gives me that sense as well, with the shapeshifter and the eel. It tells me that you're very unpredictable. You like to try new things. Perhaps you even like to role play. Sometimes you're a little bit submissive, but sometimes you are very dominant in bed. Sometimes you like to take charge. Sometimes you like to put on different costumes, for instance, try new things. And this is very exciting to those who, for your lovers. The eel card is also, it just feels very kinky to me, how it reminds me of ropes. And it's just a little bit sexy, the way it slithers, the way it's wet, the way it curves around the body. That's the image I'm getting. And very seductive as well. So with you around them in that way, it feels like you make them feel like they want to surrender to your charms. At the same time, I think you like to toy with your lovers a little. I say that because of the Three of Hearts, the clutch. So this card is a little bit like, oh, do they love me? Do they not? So you do bring some excitement and unpredictability to the relationship, but not in a way that drains the other person out. So I mentioned that because of the Nine of Wands and the Ten of Swords, these two cards to me are about being very drained out, or rather they could be about feeling very drained out. But with you, I see that you're different from other people because you don't leave them feeling drained out. You leave them wanting for more. So your lovers could be people who might have felt very emotionally spent from their other relationships, but with you it's like they feel reinvigorated again. They feel like having fun again, like with the Five of Probes and the King of Probes, and with the Three of Hearts. They don't mind that you're playing with them a little bit because they enjoy that. With the king as well, kings represent wisdom, and I feel like you like to toy with them a little, play with them a little, be very seductive, have a little bit of hot and cold. But the kings represent wisdom as well, so when not to go too far with it, not to manipulate them, not to scheme too much, not to make the relationship about you, but instead you just try to you are naturally very exciting to be around. You're very flirty, I feel. You're like a shapeshifter, so you could be very romantic but very playful at the same time. That's why I see with the Lancelot card. Lancelot card, it's a little bit romantic, Lancelot. He's very artistic as well, so you could be very creative in bed, so finding new ways to surprise the other person, trying out new things in bed. And you're somewhat of a free spirit, always in search of a new adventure. The book card, it tells me a few things about you. So the first thing is that you don't go by the book. You make your own rules. You're like you're a writer rather than a follower. You're the person who writes the rules, not someone who follows the rules. And people really like that about you. So they want you to make the rules for them to follow, and they want to surrender to your rules. And well, the second thing that the book card tells me is that you are like a fairy tale. You are like a dream to them. You are more than what they've ever dreamed of. You're like one of those those cheesy romantic fiction, and they always have these perfect characters, perfect lovers. You're like that to the people who are attracted to you. You're like that in bed. You're like a dream. You're like a fantasy. I feel like they just want you to take them and do as you please with them. And that's all I have for group 1. I hope this resonated with you, and I hope to see you again. If you like this reading, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you so much, and goodbye. Hi group 2, let's look at what you have. So first up, you have the Queen of Cups and the Strength card. Wow, so this is one of the most sexual cards in tarot in my opinion. We have here the Knight of Discs, which is the Knight of Pentacles. And we have the Ten of Ray Guns, or the Ten of Swords. Next we have mushrooms. You know what mushrooms remind me of? Phalluses. And here we have Elixir. Winning give us 6 wisdom. Here we have Vampire, makes you aware that someone or something is draining your life force, depleting others for your psychic survival, chronic complaining, and codependency. I don't think either attributes are very relevant to today's reading though. Next we have Mother, nurturance, patience, unconditional love, joy in giving birth to life, smothering or abandoning children, instilling guilt in children for becoming independent. Likewise, I don't think either attributes written on this card are very relevant to today's interpretation. Dilettante, delights in the arts without having to be a professional, alerts you to the danger of becoming superficial in your pursuits or pretension to much deeper knowledge than you actually possess. Next we have the Queen of Clubs, Leah, and the 8 of Diamonds, the House of Good Fortune. Okay, so I think you are somebody who likes to push boundaries. Let's start by looking at the Dilettante card. So the Dilettante is somebody a little bit of a poser, but that does not mean that they do not truly enjoy arts or literature, or whatever they are touting, whatever they are talking about. So in this context, I see you investing that sort of energy into your sexual relations. I see you trying to find out, trying to discover how different things feel, trying to add a little bit of philosophy into your sexual relations even. Let me give you an example. So, like, have you ever heard of stories about artists who try to push their boundaries and perhaps include sex into their work, or perhaps going out and experimenting with new sex acts, like just throwing examples out there, having sex in front of other people as a form of performance art, for instance, or trying to experiment with their sexuality, trying to film their sexual escapades, film their sexual adventures as a form of a statement of some sort, for instance. I'm not saying that you have to do that. I'm not saying that you necessarily like doing that, but that is just an example I'm giving you of how you like to push sexual boundaries, and you might even like to use sex as a way to prove a point, as a way to question your own existence, as a way to think about life, as a way to discover other aspects of yourself, as a way to learn more about other people. So that about you is very attractive to other people, because sex is not just a way to relieve tension or anything like that for you, because sex is something more. I see that with the mushrooms card as well. So I mentioned just now that mushrooms reminds me of penises, which is true, they do, but they also remind me of the brain. The way the mushrooms are patterned. The mushroom card always reminds me of this episode in Hannibal, the TV series, And there was mention of something about how mushrooms can represent communication, the way the spores are carried in the wind and reaches other places, reaches spots that other people cannot find. And also how it looks like the brain, literally. So with you, it's almost like you elevate sex into, and use sex to elevate yourself into a higher being, higher consciousness, to reach that higher consciousness. Sex with you is not just physical, it's not just earthy, it really is to the mind as well. And that's why we have the wisdom card there. And even Leah, the Queen of Clubs. The Queen of Clubs is about the clubs are related to the mind. And Leah is the queen of that, the queen of the mind. And she governs over things like imagination, dreams, and so on. So this is a little wild thought, but I think that some of you might even have very intense sexual dreams. It's almost like you almost feel like you're having sex with some sort of otherworldly sexual entity and so on. Or you could be like an otherworldly sexual goddess to those whom are attracted to you. Leah is also of the night. It also governs the night because it's the suit of clubs is a black suit. So Leah there's a sense of mystery about her. She also governs the unconscious. She's about exploring the unconscious. Same with the Queen of Cups. It's all about the unconscious, all about intuition. It carries that feminine energy. Of course, I'm not saying that you're necessarily, or that you necessarily identify as female, but there's a quality about you that's very watery, that's very mysterious, that and sex with you gives people the avenue to tap into their very watery energy, to tap into their subconscious, to realize things about themselves that they've never realized before. And the elixir card makes me think that being around you makes other people feel intoxicated almost. It's like they forget all about the world around them, and they really tap into the faculty of the mind. So we always think about the mind and body as two separate things. We form this dichotomy between the mind and body, but sometimes they are one. You make them experience and feel things that they've never felt before, or that has never even crossed their mind before. And I go back to that example of an artist who likes to push boundaries, who likes to use sex as a way to think about other things, sex as a way to be provocative, for instance. And with you, sex is more than just the physical act of it. It's about the connection between mind and body. It's about it's about losing yourself in your subconscious. Being intoxicated, being in the moment, just feeling all the different sensations that you are able to feel on your body, or rather your lover is able to feel on their body. It's almost tantric. I think it's tantric. Like, they feel like they want to be one with you. They want to share the same breath with you. And when they're having sex with you, sometimes it could feel like they can feel what you are feeling. They can feel the physical sensations that you are feeling. I say that because of the 10 of ray guns as well as, or the 10 of swords. So with the 10 of swords, you see a person with swords, or in this case ray guns, just poking out of their body or stabbing them in the back. But in this case, what the image I'm getting is that this person wants to feel your touch on every part of their body. This person wants you to take them. And if you are into BDSM, or if they are into BDSM, it's almost like they want you to do things to their body that might be considered a little bit taboo even. I say that because of the vampire card as well. And even Leah is about the night. The vampire is about the night. You make them want to try things that are considered a little bit taboo and so on. So I just want to add a disclaimer that I'm not encouraging you to try things that are out of your comfort zone, that are out of your person's comfort zone. So no matter what your kinks are, no matter what you are into, please make sure that you and your partner are comfortable with it. So I am in no way asking you to do things that to do things without the consent of other people. So I'm sure, of course, you already know that, but I just want to be clear that I'm not asking you to do that. However, that said, I do think that you make people feel like they want to push their boundaries. Because the Ten of Ray Guns in the Golden Dawn tradition is also the Lord of Ruin. And that with the vampire card makes me feel like it's almost like this person or your lovers, when they're with you, they get the sense that they want you to ruin them almost, to ravage their bodies. The Knight of Discs is very slow and very earthy. It's about very slow, earthy sex. But with you, I see that slowness is not the slowness leads to something else. So sex with you, I think, isn't like very quick and dirty. It starts slow, and then it starts with the body, starts with the lower chakras, and the sensations move up. It's not just about the body anymore. It's not just about the physical sensations anymore. It's about the connection. Same with the Mother card and the Queen of Cups. I think what these two cards talk about. I think these two cards are talking about intuition, subconscious, Leah as well. It's about that formless connection, that magical, that mysterious connection that people feel during tantric sex. And what else? Right, before I forget, the House of Good Fortune, the 8 of Diamonds on the top right corner of this spread. I think that, okay, the House of Good Fortune is normally not about relationships or sex. It's usually talking about your ambition, like something fortunate that's coming your way. But in this case, I think it's talking about the sense of fulfillment that people get from you when they have sex with you. It almost feels like they're becoming whole, they're learning something new. And like I mentioned with the dilettante card, okay, so fortune reminds me of Jupiter, which is the planet of expansion. And so the House of Good Fortune with the dilettante card gives me the image of somebody who's really exploring different aspects of their sexuality, who's really trying new things. And finally, the Strength card. I saved this card for the last. Like I mentioned just now, the Strength card is one of the most sexual cards in tarot. I'm not sure if you knew this, but in the Thoth tarot, the Strength card is renamed the Last card. So I think this card tells me that to your lovers, you are lust personified. You make them feel so incredibly desired. It's like you make them feel like it's okay to cave into lust. It's okay to just be in that moment, to feel each other. So you may seem like the Queen of Cups on the surface, or rather you might give other people a very calm, mysterious energy, but within that there's a beast within. So there's a very strong, very fiery sexual energy within you just waiting to be released. I don't know if this makes sense to you, but it's almost like they want you to, not literally, but it's like they get this feeling that they want you to devour them. And the feeling is reciprocated as well. They also feel like they want to devour you almost because you're so gorgeous, because you are so seductive, because you are like the knight. You draw them in. You connect with them not just bodily, not just on a surface level, but you connect with them on a subconscious level. And that is all I have for group 2. I hope this resonated with you. If you like this reading, please consider liking and subscribing, and I really hope to see you again. Goodbye. Hi group 3, let's look at your cards. So first up you have the Ace of Swords, the Fool. We have the Knight of Probes, which is the Knight of Wands, and the Wheel of Fortune, Ghost, Lantern, Egg Moon Trust. We have your Priest, facilitates spiritual commitments, serve as a channel of spiritual energy, or violates the trust of your spiritual community, seduced by your own spiritual role. Storyteller, ability to experience and express life through stories and symbols, making up tales that harm others. We have your Warrior, strength, skill, discipline, and toughness of will, heroism, stoicism, and self-sacrifice in conquering the ego, and trading ethical principles for victory at any cost, indifference to the suffering inflicted on others. Finally, we have the Four of Clubs, East Wind, and the Two of Diamonds. I believe the Two of Diamonds is titled The Rivals. So group 3, I sense that there's almost a sort of aggression coming from this spread. Let's start by looking at the Two of Clubs, the Rivals. So this card, well, according to the guidebook that came with this, the bald man here is a representation of the sun, of daylight, whereas the woman is a representation of the night. So what I see from this card is that there's almost a sense of aggression between you and your person, between you and your lover. It's almost like sex between you and your lover is kind of aggressive, almost like you guys enjoy having angry sex. I say that with the Warrior card as well. So you might be frequently with, or you might be attracted to very hot-headed people like the Knight of Probes or the Knight of Wands, or people who are very strong-headed, people who have a very strong will. The Ace of Swords tells me that as well. The Priest card as well. So the Priest, Warrior, Knight of Probes, and Ace of Swords tells me that you and your lover might both be people who have very strong wills, and you might often clash with each other. But the thing is, you might enjoy these clashes because they lead to very aggressive, very powerful, angry sex, almost like you are trying to best each other. And that is what is so attractive about you to them as well. Because you're unrelenting. The Wheel of Fortune gives me that sense of dichotomy as well between you and your lovers, because as we all know, the Wheel of Fortune, like, well, on the top of the wheel there's a person who is receiving good fortune, but at the bottom we see somebody who is in misery, somebody who is facing the worst that life could possibly offer. So with the Wheel of Fortune, it's not just about receiving good luck, it's also about that dichotomy, like this. It's about change, about transition. So what I see is that the relationship between you and your lovers could possibly face this, or rather could feel like you are against each other at times, but that gives birth to very intense passion. And at the same time, it's also a very dynamic relationship. It's always changing. So there are times where you are angry at each other and you want to tear at each other, but you cannot forget how attracted you are at each other. You cannot forget how in love you are with each other. I say that because of the Fool card as well. So in case you didn't know, so I'm using the Tarot of the Divine. And each card is represented by a fairy tale or folklore from around the world, and this particular one is illustrated by the Little Mermaid. So there she is, yearning for her lover, yearning for her prince, being optimistic about her love, her romance. And it's really striking to me how similar the Fool card is here and the Ghost card we have here. So both the women depicted in these cards are looking into a distance, being all dreamy, fantasizing about their lover or their potential lover. And I think that's the thing about you. So there are times where you are very aggressive, but there are times where you just spend so much time fantasizing about what you want to do to them, and you are not afraid to tell them that. You're not afraid of telling them what you want to do to them, what you want them to do to you, and that makes you very attractive to them. I say that because of the storyteller, so you are somebody who's a bit of a romantic as well. You tell them these narratives of exactly what you want to do to them and how you want to feel when you're with them, and that is just so seductive. You want to look them in the eye and tell them how you want them to touch you and how you want to tear their clothes apart, how you want to run your hands down their bodies and so on. So you fantasize a lot about them. And this makes them fantasize a lot about you as well, because you just bring about such a mesmerizing sexual energy, such an imaginative sexual energy. And the thing about the Fool card is that the Fool is very optimistic. He or she doesn't think about pitfalls and challenges. He just wants to adventure. That's the thing, the Fool. Or she just wants to adventure. So sex with you can sometimes feel like I mentioned just now, there's an aggression. So when there is aggression, it can feel like the both of you are not caring about what the aftermath. So you might just be both consensually rough with each other, scratching at each other's backs and so on. So there's a very heat of the moment type of energy I see here. And with the Warrior card as well, so sex is almost feels like a challenge that you are more than willing to take on, to face. Even the Ace of Swords give me that sense of aggression. Ace of Swords and the Knight of Probes. The Knight of Probes, of course, the Knight of Wands is all about aggression. It's also about flirtiness. Knight of Wands or the Knight of Probes is very flirty. This card almost makes me feel like, because the Wands card in this deck is shaped like a penis. And it's almost like he's waving his penis and like, hey, I have what you want. Come over here, baby, or something like that. And the Ace of Swords, I think the depiction in this deck is very interesting because what do we see in the background? We see ropes. And we see someone who is endeavoring to cut the ropes, but the ropes, of course, in a sexual context reminds me of BDSM, of role play, of kinkiness, of trying to tie down the other person because you just want to possess them so badly. And that is the energy I see that you have with your lovers. You want to tie each other down, you want to possess them so badly. Of course, this doesn't mean that your lover is necessarily the more submissive one, the one who enjoys being tied up more, or that you are the one who's usually tied up, and so on. Because I think that so this reminds me of Samuel Beckett's play. So the idea in Beckett's plays is that the master and slave relationship is not always so clear-cut because they are both dependent on each other, even though one directs the other. So that's the kind of vibe I see between you and your lover. So you might get into these role plays where one person is submissive or subservient. But truth is the both of you are equals and you know it, and that's why you have trust between each other. That's why you're able to engage in such plays. That's why you are able to be aggressive in a relationship, be so open in a relationship. That's why I see with the Fool as well, the openness, and at the same time have or potentially have a lasting relationship because of the trust you have with each other. So the Ghost card and the Lantern card is interesting because, well, ghosts are ephemeral, they're apparitions, they are intangible, they are like shadows really. And Lantern card, the lantern is something that illuminates, something that shows you the path. So these cards, in a way, they are opposites of each other. One looks in the dark, whereas the other one lights up the path. However, ghosts, the thing about ghosts is that it reminds me of shadows, and shadows cannot exist without light. So even though these two cards might seem to be opposite of each other, to be at odds with each other, at first I do think that they come hand in hand. They complement each other, just like the relationship, the sexual energy you have between you and your lover. And I do think that the Lantern and the Ghost card also metaphorically tells me that you are somebody whom people are comfortable with exposing themselves to, exposing their undisclosed desires. The song I'm hearing in my head is Undisclosed Desires by Muse. I think it's because you're so confident about sharing your kinks, your desires with the other person, that they want to do the same as well. And finally, we have the East Wind card on the top left corner. So the East Wind card is so different from the other cards in this deck. Most of the other cards talk about energy and aggression, except for the Ghost card, perhaps. But the East Wind card is about a very slow wind, a slow and deliberate wind. So with the East Wind card and the Ghost card, I get the sense that there might be some hot and cold going on between your relationship, or you and your lover, or rather you know how to play that to your advantage. So at times you might be not necessarily cold, but you might be very slow and tender and mysterious. You might play with them a little, but when you really get into it, when it comes down to it, you just can't wait to tear their clothes off their back. So you start by toying with them a little first, whispering in their ear. I keep getting that image. I think because of the East Wind card, it looks like somebody's blowing. So you might whisper in their ear during the day, throughout the day, caress them a little. But when you get down to business, it's like you're like the Knight of Probes. It's like the fire is so strong. I think there might be clawing involved. I keep getting the image of clawing as well, just clawing at each other, wanting to devour each other. And that is what makes you so attractive, so sexually attractive to your lovers. And that's all I have for group 3. I hope this resonated with you, and I hope to see you again. If you like this reading, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you so much. Okay, hi group 4. Let's look at what you have. First up, we have the 10 of Wands, the 4 of Wands. We have the Knight of Reagans, which is the Knight of Swords, and the Queen of Probes, which is the Queen of Wands. We have here Wolf, Wings, Harvest Moon Fruition. We have here the Poet, expresses soul insights in symbolic language, or turns a lyric gift to negative or destructive effect. We have here Knight, loyalty, romance and chivalry, a love of honor, or allegiance to a destructive ruler or principal, romantic delusions. And we have the Goddess card, the feminine expressed through wisdom, nature, life force, and sensuality, or exploitation of the female nature and form. We have here the 6 of Clubs, the Bridge, followed by the 9 of Clubs, Galahad. Okay, so the first thing that comes to mind about why or how your lovers are so attracted to you, how they find you so irresistible, is that it's because of how you make them feel like they are the only person in the world. It's like the Rihanna song, like you make them feel like they're the only girl in the world. Of course, they don't necessarily have to be a girl, they don't necessarily have to identify as female, but you make them feel like they are the most precious, the most special person in the world. I mean, just look at this card. Look at how devoted Galahad is to the Grail, the Holy Grail. And that's why you make them feel like they're some special Holy Grail. You make them feel as though they are a wish come true. So you might be somebody who's very vocal with your affections, who tells them how special they are, who tells them in exact detail what you love about them. So perhaps during love making, you'll whisper into their ear, tell them how much you love their eyes, how much you love their lips, and caress them, caress every part of their body, rain kisses upon them, and so on. And I say that because of the Poet card as well. It's like everything that comes out of your lips is like a love poem. It's like a saying, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. And then you describe in detail every part of the body, of the being, of the personality that turns you on, that lights your fire. The Knight of Reagans as well, Knight of Reagans, Knight of Swords, is somebody who is very single-minded about their goal. So they see a goal and they are charging towards it. But I don't see you being very rough with them. I think you're a more sensual lover. I say that because of the Goddess card as well. You're more of a slow burn. So in group 3, we have some very aggressive energy going on there. But here in this group, I think you're a slow lover. You prefer to take your time. But, okay, so the Knight of Reagans or Swords in tarot could be about words as well. I think that you might take your time in getting to know their body and caressing their body, but you just rain so much compliments on them, you rain so much kisses on them, rain so much words on how you are attracted to them that feels irresistible. That feels like it's overwhelming even, but in a good way, almost like they cannot believe how loved they are, how attractive they are in your eyes, while you slowly put your hands all over their body. And wow, I just realized we have 3 knights here. So we have the knight archetype card, we have the knight of Reagans, and of course we have Galahad by the corner over there. So you're like a romantic knight. Of course, this doesn't mean that you are male or that you identify as male, but you bring about this very romantic energy. You're like a dream, you're like a fantasy. You're like the person that you like their fantasy. You are like somebody whom they've always dreamed of, and I do suspect that you are attracted to romantic types as well. Attracted to people who are very romantic, who likes to fantasize. You're very sensual, like it is mentioned in the goddess card. And I think with the goddess card, goddess card, the first goddess that comes to mind in the context of this reading is of course Aphrodite, to me at least. And you are like a sex goddess. Of course, again, this doesn't necessarily mean that you identify as female, but you are good at what you do. It's like you're somebody who really takes note of what your lover likes or dislikes, who really tries to get to know their body. I say that with the Queen of Probes as well, or the Queen of Wands. You are so sexual and so sensual, and you are so confident of your sexuality, and you know how to light the fire. The Queen of Probes or Queen of Wands is it's a combination of the watery energy of the Queen and watery energy being like intuition, being about the subconscious, and the fiery, passionate, the almost horny energy of the Wands. Okay, so you're like a combination of both. You use your intuition to try to get to know what your lover likes or dislikes, and you use your sexual prowess to please them, to make them feel good. In short, I guess, I think the cards are telling me that you're somebody who's very good in bed. And the fruition harvest moon. So harvest moon comes after a long period of work. And finally you have a harvest, and I believe in some harvests, like the harvest festival is almost like a frenzy. There's wine, there's food, there's just this sense of elation. And it's almost like an orgasm. Or rather, it is like an orgasm. You're experiencing the ultimate bliss, the ultimate pleasure. So you're a lover who starts off very slow, but then that pleasure builds up. And then you let your lovers and you and your lover experience the ultimate bliss, ultimate pleasure. So the Four of Wands and the Wings card over there is also about freedom. The Four of Wands is about yes, a sense of, well, the Four in tarot is about stability, but with the Wands you have stability as well as freedom. It's like you have the best of both worlds. So your lovers feel very safe around you. You're like a knight who protects them, or rather who gives them a sense of security, but they have so much freedom around you, so much freedom with you to express their sexuality. The wings as well, your wings flying into the sky. These to me are images of orgasms, of sexual pleasure, of attaining that highest pleasure. So I think that when your lover is with you, they feel like you are wholeheartedly devoted to them, and this lets them lose the shackles they have around them. This lets them feel free to be themselves around you. The wolf is also about freedom. Wolves being creatures that do what they want and do what they like, do who they like. They are bound by no one and bound by nothing. But at the same time, wolves are creatures that are very intuitive. They are creatures of the night. And the wolf card really reminds me of the Queen of Probes, Queen of Wands card as well. So you are somebody who is very sensitive to your lovers, just like how a wolf is very sensitive to the moon, the night, phases of the moon, changes in the night. So you're a very sensitive lover. You embody the watery energy of the queen, and you use that sensitivity to please your lover, to know their body, to experiment with them, to experiment with their body. And finally, we have here the bridge. So this card, so the suit of clubs is equivalent to the suit of swords, I believe. It's about the mind. So when your lover is with you, they feel connected with you, not just through your bodies, but mentally as well. They feel like you understand them, and as a result, they feel comfortable with you, and that's what makes you so sexually attractive to them. Sex for you and your lover is like a bridging of personalities, bridging of mind, bridging of the soul. It's like you really connect with each other through sex. Right, I almost forgot about this Ten of Wands here. So reading the Ten of Wands and the Four of Wands, I feel like you're a presence who allows your lover to relax. The Ten of Wands can sometimes mean that can sometimes show a person who is carrying on too much, who is burdened with too much, who's feeling drained out. But whereas the Four of Wands is about freedom, is the best of the energy of the wands. So Ten of Wands is like there's too much fire. With the Four of Wands is like there's just the right amount of passion. So when they are with you, they feel rejuvenated almost. They feel re-energized. Also, this Ten of Wands card in particular, this Ten of Wands shows, you see a tree growing out of a skull. It's about receiving a blessing after all have been lost. So your lover, your current lover, or people you used to date, people you might date in the future might be somebody who felt very burnt out in their previous relationships, but they feel like you're a gift or a blessing to them. It's almost like they had to go through all that hardship in order to realize how much of a blessing you are. That's the feeling I get from the Four of Wands as well. You feel like a blessing to them. The Fruition card as well. You are a knight in shining armor to them. Again, you don't necessarily have to identify as male to be a knight in shining armor. In fact, I see that you embody both the energy of the knight and the queen. You are a balance of the queen and the goddess. You're a balance between the energy, the passion of the knight and the sensuality of the goddess. That's what I see with the Four of Wands as well. We see a perfect harmonious relationship between the man and the woman. So you embody that harmony. You are like a fantasy, a dream. You are romantic and passionate and sensitive. And that is what makes you so irresistible to your lovers. I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you do, please consider liking and subscribing. And I really hope to see you again. Thank you and goodbye.